Good day, Market Chameleons, and everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and watching the After Hours show and with Ryan Mastro from OptionsRobot. Before we get started, let's take a look at the shared disclaimer. Please be aware that neither Market Chameleon, OptionsRobot, Ryan, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This webinar, as all our webinars and shows, are for informational purposes only concerning Market Chameleon and today OptionsRobot's tools and services. With that, let's welcome Ryan to the stage, who will give us a look at what happened today and what maybe to look for tomorrow. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? How was your weekend?
Great. Let me share the screen. Everything's good, thank God.
Yeah, so let's jump into it. I know we got a little tight schedule today. So in terms of the market, right? I mean, let's just go back to some of the charts over here. Let me get rid of this stuff and just quickly discuss a couple of things that I think are more important this week. Q's kind of had a gap down today, right? After a big move up on Friday, after a big gap down on Friday, right? We can see that in the green candle here. Sold off today. They did try to rally it, but they really just kind of laid back into it. So not a great feeling there. Same thing happened in SPY, but a little bit worse for where it closed down at the low end of the range there in the SPY. I would look at the SMH as one of the bigger catalysts here. And I'm saying that because NVIDIA earnings are on Wednesday afternoon. So that's going to be what everyone is looking at. I think right now we are in a very critical spot where I think NVIDIA is really going to be scrutinized. All of the different partners they have, what they say about those. I think their portfolio was like 80% or around that in terms of having invested in CoreWeave, and CoreWeave is just looking very, very ugly. They've been cut in half in the last couple of weeks here. So like 140 down to 70 something. So not a good feel for there, not a good thing for NVIDIA. Now, Jensen Huang basically is a prolific, basically promoter of his company. But when you look at NVIDIA, he's been a big seller as well. So you kind of keep that in the back of your head. And I think there's been a couple different comments that I've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, and I think I mentioned them briefly, but three things that really stood out to me. One is the amount of people that are now selling NVIDIA outright as big names. Peter Thiel sold his stock, SoftBank sold his stock, and Burry went short. So three big names that are starting to really pitch into this idea that maybe the AI bubble is not all cracked up as what it should be here, where the numbers aren't really adding up. So I think that's starting to give everyone a little bit of a pause, a little bit of where are we in this broader thing. So that's one. Two was that we had comments from the CEO of Microsoft, and two comments that really stood out to me. One is about 2 weeks ago, he said that he did not want to be in the business of having just 5 partners, the big 5, and basically servicing them. He wants to be much broader, much more diversified. And he also said, I don't want to be on the first generation of data centers where they are beholden and always have to upgrade because they're never going to get caught up in terms of how fast this is moving in terms of development and putting these things out there. So you're always going to have this lag, and you're always going to have this decaying chip that's going to be sitting on your power. So he goes, then you're basically be fighting for power. Which ones do you want to be using? Which ones are people willing to pay for? So there, he basically got out of that business. So I think Microsoft may be set up a little bit better than some of these other names. Two was the power usage, and I think that was a big deal. I've read some articles recently that China's kicking our butt, and when we start to look at some of the power usages out of what they're using in their models, people are flocking to DeepSeek, right? Because not only is it cheaper to use, it's using less power. And that's really hurting the Anthropic, the Perplexity, the ChatGPT. And you look at ChatGPT in general, their numbers are going down versus Anthropic and Perplexity, but all of their numbers are getting beat by DeepSeek and some of the other Chinese models. So I think that's something that we have to keep in the back of our head, that are we going to get this continued push? Now, the last thing I want to mention about that is the insurance for all the debt surrounding these data centers, and that continues to go higher. So the poster child for that would probably be Oracle. And this is one we've been riding to the downside for quite some time now. So this could be one you want to look at. Maybe if you break the that blue line there is the 200-day. You start to break that. That could be something that you say, you know what, maybe I want to be short this, or I would definitely not be trying to bottom pick this one, because I think there's still plenty of potential for this thing to continue to fall. You got gaps down below from here, here, and here. And bigger picture, you get down, almost another $100, right? Where we start to find lows if they really want to shell into this. Now, we've had some ugliness out of Bitcoin, and this has not helped our market at all, right? In terms of that, here's an Ethereum that looks pretty ugly, but some names have really gotten shelled, like a MicroStrategies. So this is one, again, it's a pretty popular name. It moves around a lot. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon the downside, but again, you start to see this turn. This is a really big haircut for a pretty solid company that is now trading, I think, at or right around their total Bitcoin holdings. They just added, I think, another like 3,000 Bitcoin. But this is one where they're priced at almost an equalization here, where their total value is what they have in Bitcoin. So I'm not sure how or why. I'm sure there could be points where it goes down because of the debt and their interest rate they have to pay out. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one. Coinbase got hit pretty hard today. So COIN, that got hit pretty hard. And I'll try to zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it better. But we're down below the 200-day on that one already. So there's a lot of pressure to the downside. And again, I think this is stuff that we're getting a little bit concerned with, because if this AI bubble is not going to be able to hold it together, then I think we could see more downside as it's, especially the big names, right? So your big names today, Google was up. That was the one big one that was really trying to hold the market together. And that was mainly because Warren Buffett came in and bought in, right? He basically made an investment. I don't remember the exact number. It's like 17 billion or something like that. But it's one of his biggest investments outside of Apple in the tech space, right? So he's a guy that usually plays in, a Pepsi or Coke and the rails and the banks and insurance. So very much the very stable industries. But jumping into a Google, probably not a bad deal on his part. I would love to see him probably a lot lower, but you never know. I mean, this is maybe his outgoing investment to the Berkshire Hathaway crew, because he'll be, I think, retiring here sometime in December. So that could be his last big investment. We'll see. But they've been doing still pretty well in terms of cash. Still have a ton of cash sitting there on the sidelines. So that being said, let's get in and find an idea or two here. Just off the top here, these are things that you should be watching, right? I think both of these, with an annual meeting coming up tomorrow, and Oracle and MU. MU has been on fire, and I will highlight these other stocks as well. MU has been doing very well, and you can see they've been holding up pretty well compared to where the market was. Didn't sell off anywhere near as much as everything else. We had WDC that was doing very well, STX and SanDisk. Let me just try to get those, show you these charts. There's STX, and here's SanDisk. This has probably done the best out of all of them. But MU still right with that memory. This is all memory related, DRAM, the whole 9 yards, and physical, the drive. So these are all related, and they've all continued to go in price. I know they were talking about DRAM continuing to increase in price. So this may be one they want to look at towards the upside if you continue to see maybe the NVIDIA stabilize, or their conference call on Wednesday could be very, very interesting. So that would be on the radar. So that let's do a UOA and get into let's do it down in here to the unusual options. And again, this is where I like to find more explosive opportunities. This AL, I'd be very cautious with that. I did see some news in here about some of their partners having problems, not necessarily so much AL, but some of their partners having problems. So I'd be careful being on the bull side of that. Netflix with the big split, they went 10-1, and that basically took effect today. Dell was looking pretty ugly today, and could be on the radar. CDE, we have it listed as bearish here in the market sentiment, but this could be one, if you believe in silver, this could be one that's kind of lagging a little bit, and on the radar there. looked at most of these. Here's your SanDisk as bullish. Again, the only problem with this one is just really expensive to trade, right? It is one I think that is probably a little bit out of the wheelhouse here for most people. So I'm not going to get into that one. I'm just trying to look at what else we could look at. Now, if you look at like something like a Netflix, let's just go back over here to Netflix and just a quick peek at the chart. And it's now a $100 stock, right? Well, it hasn't split on here yet, but for this, it's going to be a $100 stock. So it's, 109.50 in terms of the action. You can see it down here in terms of how it was trading down. So this has to be split adjusted in terms of the action, but this here, right, in terms of is it a buying opportunity? I'm really not that excited about it, right? I don't think anybody really has come in yet to be in there. There was some excess volume in there because of, I think, just because it's cheap now. It's 1/10 the price, so maybe there's some a little bit extra volume because of that. Chevron, I think with what was going on in oil, Trump media, I'm not really seeing anything in here that jumps out at me as. So let's go back over to stocks and see what is at top of volume here. So this is obviously going to be NVIDIA, right, in terms of their average volume, a little bit lower, right? A lot of these names just really not moving. Google was a big name. Microsoft, like I said, I think Microsoft could be a big play here back to the upside. So let's just take a quick look at that chart, Microsoft, and if they can get things going. So Microsoft, I do like, right? I mean, I think, maybe getting back above this close over here. Let's do one quick thing. So high there is 499.15. Let's do a quick entry bottle on that one. So we'll do Microsoft, and we're going to say greater than 499. Let's say, what am I looking at? High of the day was, nope, I don't want that. I want it on the daily, and I want this to be the candles. Sorry about that. So high of the day was, 512. That's really far away. Let's see, where's the open? 845, 507. No, I'm going to use the high. I'm going to stick with that. So 512, I'm going to say a little bit higher, 512.25, and I'm going to add an option here. So I'm going to use a higher up option like the 512. So they'll be at the monies. We did add this down here recently. Gives you an idea of what's going on in terms of the simulation, so you can mess around with that, see how it will look in terms of days, and play around with that a little bit. We do have a whole simulation on this if you want to look at that as well. But in terms of, we'll put this as quick, and then we're going to hit create. So what that does is get me into a bot that will monitor that for me. And what then OptionsRobot does is allows you to select a template. Now you can create custom templates, or you can use one of the ones that are in here and modify them. For something like a Microsoft that has a pretty good ATR, I'm going to use something like this. Every $5 roll me up, and I'll show you that in here real quick, like this. So the entry bot gets me in here, and then every $5, the other bots will roll me up and eventually exit me if we do run up roughly $20 on that one. So the other thing I just want to mention, again, there's a lot of stuff moving to the downside. So a couple names that could be on your radar for the downside that we're watching. One I saw earlier was Datadog, and I like this trade. If we start to fall down, I'd probably use this low here. That's 179. So if we start to break there, that could be one. So I'll do a quick entry bot on that one here as well. So Datadog less than, so on the downside, 179 on the nose. And we're going to say we're going to add an option, and we'll use, I'm going to use the slightly out of the money puts there and do quick and create. And then I'm going to do a little bit tighter of a template. So let's see, we'll do this one over here. So every $2, that's going to roll me down. So the option gains $2. Stock's going to move about $4 for that to happen, and that's going to continue to do that. So, and I can add stops in here on that. So there's a couple ideas for you guys. Hopefully that's enough to kind of get you through. If there are any questions, Will, I can try.
Yeah, we had one. Well, we had a couple questions, but I want to get to one because we only got 5 minutes left, and it's from a morning regular who's asking for a friend who has an AVGO position. He's wondering what you think of AVGO.
So AVGO is, I would say today looked pretty good compared to everything else, right? So it held up pretty well. So I think going into NVIDIA earnings, you have MU on Wednesday as well. So you have NVIDIA. The other thing you're going into on Thursday morning is the jobs report for September. And then on Friday, you have another jobs report for October. So you're going to have a lot of volatility in that. But I think in general, I think this looks pretty good in terms of the chart. I'd love to see it back above the 50-day, give you a little more confidence. And I'd probably use this low from Friday that, maybe that's a good level to start to get short or get out of a position if you are in a position.
All right, we got a couple more minutes. Maybe one look at Starbucks before we go, SBUX.
Yep, good old Starbucks. So Starbucks has been really kind of beaten up here, right? This has been one where we've been in this range. Whoops, sorry about that. Someone coming in the door and knocking there. So, this has been struggling. I like the pattern in terms of that it's bottomed here a couple of times, had a little bit of love back way over here back in like 2023, but that's 2025, but that's April and May. But so I like to see this get back above here. Right now, you're sitting right on your 50-day, that orange line. So any breakdown below here, I think you could see retest around 79 down here at the bottoms. They could definitely come down and retest there. If we can hold here and bounce, then you want to probably play for the 100 and then maybe the 200 after that.
All right, perfect. Well, we're right up against 450 where I have to make a little bit of an early departure. I apologize to everyone who came for this, but we will be here again next Monday with Ryan. Great job as always, Ryan. You another couple minutes left. You want to mention anything else about OptionsRobot to the community?
No, if anybody's interested in jumping in, testing it out, giving it a trial, come on over to OptionsRobot.com. For you guys and you guys only, we put up a coupon. I think the coupon is turkey. No, we did turkey, right? No, we did turkey's the one we put up for you guys. So turkey
we got that for Thanksgiving.
Yep. So they're ready for Thanksgiving. So you guys, if you wanted to check it out, I would come in and use that coupon code, gives you 50% off. So I think it's maybe 50 or 40%. I have to check which one it is, but it gets you a nice little discount on jumping in. But you do have a 14-day trial. So thank you.
All right. Perfect. And the longer term is a better deal. So everyone be aware of that. I think signing up for a year gives you a much better deal. So make sure you check that out. Thanks for everything, Ryan, and we'll see you next Monday, my friend.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining another After Hours show. I apologize about the need for a little earlier of a departure, but something came up in the family. With that, everyone have a great day. If you're following us any of the social platforms, please thumbs up, follow us, particularly on YouTube. The thumbs are always appreciated. Tomorrow we'll have a live show at 9 a.m. Hopefully you can join us on our YouTube channel, Market Chameleon. Just do a search on YouTube and you'll find us. And there are thousands of videos on that site, as well as this show will be stored there for your view and pleasure. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining. Bye.